Numbers don't lie. It's a big problem. A recent study shows between 22 and 50 returning veterans commit suicide every day. And now an organization founded by someone with a familiar name to San Diegans is trying to reduce those numbers.
It is called the ThreeWiseMen Foundation. Its mission, help returning veterans find the services they need. And joining us tonight is its founder, veteran and public servant, Nathan Fletcher. Nathan, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, good evening.
We've got some time to talk. We're going to cover all of this because this is a unique event you've got coming up too. But first of all, let's begin with the name and tell me the personal story of why you call this the ThreeWiseMen Foundation.
Yeah, when I was a little guy growing up, one of my closest friends was my cousin Jeremy Wise, and we were about the same age. We grew up together as kids, and he had two younger brothers, Ben Wise and Bo Wise, and so we called them the Three Wise Men because there were three of them. And you know, my younger brother and the three of them, we camped together, we did sleepovers together. You know, you didn't really tell whose kids were whose, and we were so close. And all of us joined the military. I went first in the Marine Corps, counterintelligence, human intelligence. Jeremy became a Navy SEAL. Ben, the second wise man, joined the Army. He was a Green Beret and Army Ranger. My younger brother flies F-18s in the Navy to this day, and baby Bo, the youngest, the Three Wise Men, is still a Marine on active duty. And we estimate that between the five of us, we did over 3,000 days deployed overseas. And you know, sadly, when you think about that, and you think about the odds and the two longest conflicts in American history, the odds just aren't in your favor that you'll make it back. And on December 30th, 2009, we lost Jeremy to a suicide bomber in Coast Afghanistan. 2 years and about 12 days later, we lost Ben to a firefight insurgents also in Afghanistan. And so the foundation was really created not just to focus on Jeremy and Ben, because we honor their sacrifice, but they're gone, but to focus on Bo, those returning veterans, those who survived combat but are struggling to survive the peace. And so that really is the focus of the Three Wise Men Foundation.
And oftentimes, you know, we really need to make sure that there's not only public awareness of some of the issues that are facing these returning veterans, but also that there are services readily available for them and that they know what those services are. So tell us about the events you have coming up. I know it ties in your love for CrossFit.
Yeah, a number of things. So over the course of the last year, and I care a lot about our returning veterans, and you highlighted one of the stats, between 22 and 50 commit suicide every day. A second one is the unemployment rate of returning post 9/11 veterans is much higher than the unemployment rate of the general population. And the third that really, I think, points out a lot of the problem is 10% of America used to serve in uniform. It's now less than 1% that serve. And so there's less of a connection, and veterans feel a sense of isolation. So over the last year, I really reached out to veteran leaders and organizations, said, what can be done? I don't want to duplicate, I don't want to replicate. And they said, we need to raise awareness of the problem. That helps all organizations. So just us talking about it helps everyone that provides veterans. The second thing is reaching veterans directly that says, it's okay to ask for help. You had the courage to fight for your country, and you may be struggling. You need to have the courage to ask for help. And, you know, if you think about it, you know, I was a Marine, and we always tell Marines, hey, you're tough, you can do anything. Just suck it up, deal with it. Well, for our veterans that are coming home, if you're struggling, you need to ask for help, and that's okay. Right? That's the manly thing to do.
When you take
step up and say, hey, I need help. And then the third thing is when that veteran admits they need help, connecting them to wonderful organizations out there that are providing services. And that's what the Three Wise Men is really going to focus on doing, those three things.
When they come home and they take the uniform off, their psyche sometimes does change. They get to be different people, right? Because it's a whole different society. It's not as structured for them. They have to make decisions on their own, where many times decisions were made for them when they were in uniform. And it gets them confused, doesn't it?
Well, it's a difficult transition in a lot of ways. I mean, you have such a sense of purpose. Yeah. You know, when I was a Marine, we were fighting for our country and our fellow Marines and all of these things that we held dear and values. And you get out and it's difficult. You know, I had a job in the Marine Corps. I was a human intelligence operative, and I told someone when we would track Al-Qaeda, jump out of a helicopter at 3 in the morning, blow them out, drag them out, and interrogate them, what do you do next? Right? I mean, it's hard to have a follow-on career to that, and they feel that. The second thing is every veteran struggles with some level of either survivor's guilt. You feel bad, your friends who died and you didn't. So they struggle with some form of survivor's guilt. Almost all suffer with some form of PTSD, some other form of injury, and it's difficult. And then you just have that. You have that transition from a life of purpose and service to, wow, I got to go get a real job. And what do I wear to work every day? And what do I do and how does it happen? And so it's a very, very difficult transition. And what we're here to say to our veterans is you fought for our country, and we're here to fight for you. So we're going to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of our time. We're going to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of our money. We're going to be willing to step up as a society and say, you did what we asked you to do. You went to war. You fought for your country. And to help you survive the peace when you come back.
So what's going to happen on the deck of the Midway coming up on the 18th?
So our first event, Three Wise Men Foundation, is going to do a lot of things, but the first thing we're doing is what we call the Three Wise Men Tribute, and it's a CrossFit-style workout on the deck of the USS Midway, October 18th. We have some of the top professional CrossFit athletes from around the country are flying in. Spectators are welcome. Competitors are welcome. It's going to be an unbelievable event, family-friendly event. Bring the kids, bring your friends, and a ticket to the event gets you a full-day pass to the USS Midway Museum, which is a wonderful venue on its own. And so we're really looking forward to it. We're going to support Navy SEAL Foundation, Courage to Call, a wonderful local program, have a lot of vets, and it's going to be a great event.
And I know the proceeds benefit a lot of nonprofits that, you know, cater to veterans. One in particular, Courage to Call. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Courage to Call is one of the best programs I've seen. So Courage to Call, I just love the branding. You know, I mentioned earlier, you have the courage to fight for our country. Do you have the courage to ask for help? And it's a 24/7 veteran staff hotline run by the mental health systems. The County of San Diego deserves a lot of credit. But it's a 24/7 veteran staff hotline. So if you're a veteran and you're struggling, you call and you'll talk to another vet who understands what you're going through, understands what you've been through, and they'll be able to confidentially connect you to a variety of service providers. And that's the first step for a lot of our veterans, is knowing, hey, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay.
You know, PTSD, we mentioned that's become kind of a cliche now, and Andrew Tamarisi sitting in a jail in Mexico. His family says he has PTSD. They need to bring him home. Sure. Just what's your take on that? Obviously, you believe he needs some kind of help, right?
Well, clearly, and you know, this is a case in so many ways not dissimilar from maybe the Bo Bergdahl situation, where you have a young man. There's some legitimate questions surrounding the circumstances of what happened, and you know, maybe they're a little bit of a knucklehead, but there are knucklehead, and we need to get him back. And it's important that we bring him back, and that he get the care and the treatment that he needs, and he can be held accountable when all the facts. We can figure out how to do that. But I think it is important that he come back, and important that they get the care that they need. And it's also important for folks to realize that PTSD, I wish we would stop calling it PTSD, because it's not a disorder, it's a condition. And it's a normal reaction to being in an abnormal situation. And the majority of veterans who come back and struggle with it, they get treatment and they get counseling, and they live wonderfully productive lives, and they're members of our society day in and day out. And it's important that we address that so there's no stigma associated with it, so people feel confident hiring them. I always tell people, unless your company has a policy that says you don't hire someone who has diabetes, then you ought not discriminate against someone who suffers from PTSD, because it's treatable. It's someone who can live very productive lives and be good members of our society. But in this case, it's a young man who's clearly struggling from what he went through, and we need to get him home. And I hope that happens soon.
Right. Nathan, Three Wise Men Foundation, thank you so much for what you're doing. Such an important cause.
Your passion is going to help a lot of veterans.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
You got it.
And we will have that information on our website as well at KUSI.com.